How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to show you what it's like to drive the all-new Bentley Continental GT Speed from a first-person point of view. This is the world's fastest Bentley with a top speed of 208 miles an hour. Yes, that's right, a luxurious sporty two-door with 4 seats that goes 208 miles an hour. Under the hood of the Continental GT is a 6-liter twin-turbocharged W12 making 650 horsepower and 664 pound-feet of torque. Now, the reason they made it a W12 and not a V12 is the configuration is actually shorter this direction. That means there's extra space to push the engine as far back as possible for better weight distribution, but it also means there's more space in the engine bay for a front differential and all the drivetrain components to make this thing all-wheel drive, resulting in a 0 to 60 time of 3.5 seconds. Now, there's a couple of ways to tell the GT speed from the standard Continental GT. We've got 22-inch wheels right here, a little 12 on the side, of course the speed badge. You can get it in a configuration with a carbon fiber exterior package that's got a nice side skirt, rear diffuser, and a front splitter in carbon fiber. I love this little active spoiler, but for the most part you would never know that this thing is capable of 208 miles an hour. But the real star of the show is this interior. Get a load of how gorgeous this interior environment is. Look at these Alcantara seats, the Speed logo, Alcantara leather with a diamond pattern. They are so comfortable, so supportive, and absolutely stunning. We've got the upgraded 20-channel name audio, which sounds insane. It actually has this subwoofer that's active and it kind of vibrates your whole body. It's wild. We've actually got space in the rear seat environment. Go ahead and pull this forward so you can hop in. Really comfortable. There's some cutouts up at the top in the Alcantara for extra headroom. There's plenty of legroom. Now, if we hop all the way in, you'll notice there's a slider here for cup holders and charging, and right here is a secret compartment that you can pull out, and it's got a lockbox if you want to store something that you really care about. It really doesn't get any nicer than this in terms of an interior. The Alcantara wrapped steering wheel. It's an 8-speed automatic transmission, but it's got these gorgeous paddles behind the steering wheel that feel nice to the touch. Some controls on the steering wheel as well. Now check out Bentley's optional rotating screen. If we click this, it'll go back to a digital display, but if we rotate it back, it's got analog gauges, so it'll never go out of style. In 10 years, when graphics progress well beyond this level, these screens will probably look relatively silly compared to this more classic style. But I imagine that's why Bentley went with that traditional style gauges and not something super futuristic. One of my favorite parts of the interior is this metal material here. It looks like something out of a Bugatti Veyron. Just so cool. The start-stop button right here. We'll go ahead and fire up that W12. To put it into first gear, you push on the B and shift it backwards like that. Now, one of my only complaints with this car is if you put it into reverse, I don't love the backup camera. It's so wide angle here that it's actually kind of hard to tell where the outside lines of the car are. So if you're parking, it's a little bit disoriented. Now, it can get a little better if we do panorama rear, but it doesn't give you those guidelines like you're used to in most cars. It only gives you this aerial view. I wish this was the main one and maybe a smaller rear view because, I don't know, the way they did that wide angle, I guess we've got lines now, it's just relatively distorted in my eyes. The seats are incredible. Another highlight of this car is this optional panoramic sunroof. Looks ridiculous, especially from the rear seat environment. I love the analog clock right here. Just the fit and finish of everything is spectacular. All right, so we get it out on the road and see what it's like to drive. All right, guys, here is how to launch the new GT Speed. We've got it in sport mode, traction control off, in automatic mode, floor the brake, floor the gas. It'll rev up to 5,000 RPM and then take off 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. Oh my gosh, this thing is actually so fast. It's insane. We are in sport mode right now, which firms up the suspension, virtually eliminates body roll, and because of that 650 horsepower W12, those carbon ceramic brakes, the rear axle steering, and that amazing suspension, it actually handles extremely well in the canyons, something you really wouldn't expect from a luxury GT car. It actually performs really well on tight, twisty roads, which is just so impressive. Because on the opposite end of the spectrum, let's put it back into comfort mode, it's the ultimate daily driver. So we've got the drive mode selector right here. In comfort mode, it softens up the suspension and it leaves it as comfortable as the standard Continental GT, which, as most people know, rides incredibly well over bumps. It's nice and soothing. It's so isolated from the surrounding environment. The window panes are super thick. You don't hear any road noises. It's very relaxing in here. In fact, I spent about 7 or 8 hours behind the wheel in one day in this car without getting out, and my back didn't hurt. I wasn't tired. It was actually really impressive how far you can go in this across the country, honestly, and not get tired of it. Then we've got Bentley mode, somewhere in between. That's kind of an automatic selector mode where it'll stiffen the suspension when you're going around turns, and it'll heighten throttle response when it feels it needs it. And then all the way over to the right is custom mode, where you can click on the screen and choose a different engine and gearbox setting, different steering feel, etc., etc. I found myself driving this the majority of the time in sport mode, just because I like a sporty driving experience. But I imagine the majority of people will leave it in comfort or Bentley mode. The fact this thing goes 208 miles an hour is absolutely ridiculous. And honestly, you would never know just driving it casually. It's so comfortable and so easy to use. Now watch this turning radius. We'll go ahead and flip around right here. It's so easy to maneuver in parking lots, make U-turns because of that rear axle steering. We're gonna come to a stop again, do another 0 to 60 run. It's so addicting. There's no drama. That all-wheel drive system rips off the line. And while 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds is very fast, it feels quicker than that after 60 miles an hour. You've got all that horsepower and torque. And the W12 is geared nicely for that top-end acceleration. So cruising this on the Autobahn at high speed would just be the ultimate. But you could also cruise it on the Autobahn to the Nürburgring and drive it on the Nürburgring and have a bunch of fun, and then take it to a business meeting and not look out of place. It truly is a do-everything vehicle. Love this open sunroof right here. Now, it doesn't open up. It just has this Alcantara pad that can close if you don't want the sun blaring through, but you don't actually get any airflow through there. Once again, I do love that if you put both of these windows down in the front and the rear, you get this massive opening here with no B-pillars, which is super, super nice. When you're in comfort mode, the steering is nice and light. I love the Alcantara wrapped steering wheel with those nice metal paddles behind it. Feel really nice to the touch. I found myself using this rotating screen quite a bit, always leaving it in this mode, unless you need navigation, because it just looks so darn trick. And I've even found myself just staring at the rest of the interior of the car. You know, when you buy a vehicle, you're spending the majority of your time with the vehicle, unless you've got it in a collection and you're often walking through it, inside the vehicle itself. So it's nice to have an absolutely insane interior. And this, I mean, your mind just wanders. You want to stare at every little nook and cranny of the GT Speed because it's just so beautiful. Of course, the exterior is absolutely gorgeous as well, but there's something about this interior. It's not just luxurious, it also has cutting-edge technology and just the design language. All of the materials and the different diamond stitching comes together so, so nice. It feels a bit behind the wheel like a baby Bugatti Veyron. This looks very Veyron-esque in my opinion. That kind of this machined aluminum. It also feels kind of Chiron-esque as well for $3 million less money. Sure, it doesn't have 1,500 horsepower, but it still has a 12-cylinder and arguably a more luxurious interior than a Chiron and a very similar vibe. And skateboarders in the middle of the street. Quite industry. Well, guys, we're going to do one last launch control. I'm absolutely in love with this car. I hope you guys are as well. Hope you enjoyed today's video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video. And off we go. That is so epic.